you don't need to be from programming background, or you could be from any background at all. I've seen people from commerce background become data scientists. So I'll tell you guys, if you're looking to get into data science and you want to study stats, that is the only course you'll ever need. One guy came from IT support background. He studied all his data science from YouTube. That's it. And he built his portfolio on GitHub and he got into the machine learning team. अभी जो ये सब आप देख रहे हो ना, the Ghibli effect on the pictures and everything. This is a very old concept. Very old concept. Everyone told me this as well when I started. Don't look for money, look for opportunities. I was like, what do you know? But now I know. In India, what's happening is the chatbots that we are building or the companies are building, they're based on OpenAI, mostly on OpenAI.
Yeah, exactly. They're using an OpenAI API in the backend.
API calling.
Gemini or Llama, because they're very costly. The models are very costly. India's leaders are not very advanced right now to be focused on. Have you all seen our prime minister in that AI summit that happened with global leaders?
Hey, welcome to episode 1 of the AI Unplugged, a podcast where we talk all about AI. By Somaiya Machine Learning Research Association, a part of KJSCE School of Engineering, Mumbai. I'm your host, Vibhu Gupta, and we have our guest today, Mr. Varun Dhamija, a lead data scientist at Carrot Lane with over 10 years of experience in the field. We have talked about how he started his career as a front-end engineer, but progressed as a data science and ML engineer later in his career. On this journey, I have my co-hosts Aryan and Anushka. So sit back, relax, and enjoy the show.
I think on that note, we can start. So Aryan, do you want me to go through my journey first, or do you want me to start by answering any particular questions that?
Sir, actually, the questions that we have jotted down, the first question is actually based on your journey. So we are excited to know. I know you started as a front-end engineer, and उसके बाद data science. Not even a time when data science was a buzzword. In today's curriculum, we have data science as an honors degree.
Right.
So we already know कि ये path दिया हुआ है. We have the resources and all. So was there any particular resource which you used when the AI and DS were not even a buzzword? And what are the hurdles which you faced back then? And of course, how did you land the first data science job?
Sure. So, okay, that's a very interesting story of how I landed my first data science job. So, but I started out as a front-end developer, as I told you guys. So I came from a BTech. I had done my BTech and I came from engineering background. So it wasn't an issue for me to get into programming side of things, right?
Yeah.
But I'll start by debunking one of the myths that you don't need to be from programming background, or you could be from any background at all. I've seen people from commerce background become data scientists. I'll give you an example of my little sister, who's a data analyst now. She's transitioning into data science. She comes from a chemistry background. She dropped out of her PhD in chemistry from IIT Jodhpur, and then she later transitioned into data science role. So I've seen people come from various backgrounds who work with me. You don't necessarily need to be from the programming background, or you don't need to understand programming, because the courses of today, the online material of today, they make sure to treat you as a beginner, regardless of your background. They treat you as a beginner, and they assume that you don't know anything about programming. So they'll teach you everything that is needed to get into the field of data science, right? So, I mean, I was working as a front-end developer back then in AngularJS and JavaScript, basically. I wasn't really interested in the field, and I was getting nowhere after 2 years of working in the company, right? So what I did was I started looking out for alternate career options, and I was always very fascinated by the whole aspect of artificial intelligence. I've seen in like the movies I watched growing up. I'll give you an example. I think one of the very, I don't know if you guys would have seen it. The movie was I, Robot, Will Smith's movie. So it's an old movie, early 2000s. That's okay. Yeah. That and the Terminator and everything, those franchises, they've always fascinated me to a degree of getting into the field. So I always had a curiosity about how things work, especially on the artificial side of things, right? And later in, I think the pinnacle of my curiosity and interest into data science was the movie called Deus Ex Machina, where they build proper AGI, and I knew that I was getting into the field, but couple of years later down the line, I realized that the front end development is not doing anything for me. So I started looking out for materials. So I started with the free materials available across the internet, right? I started with the mathematics. There were free mathematics lectures available from IIT Kharagpur's faculty. So I went through a series of YouTube lectures, and then I studied statistics. I did a complete statistics course from Khan Academy. So I'll tell you guys, if you're looking to get into data science and you want to study stats, that is the only course you'll ever need. So it's called Statistics and Probability from Khan Academy. I'll share a link with Aryan, and he'll share the link with the rest of you if you're interested. So that is all the stats you'll ever need. After that, I did a bunch of courses on Python. But then to get into machine learning, nowadays there are a lot of courses available online. There are a lot of YouTube channels that you can go through, right? But back then there was very limited sources available. So I did 2 degrees from Udacity back in 2017. So one in machine learning and then one in deep learning. Both were 6 months long each, and I had a lot of time on my hands back then. So I happened to finish that both the degrees within I think 4 or 6 months of each other. So yeah, so once I did that, fortunately enough, I had openings within my company back then. And unfortunately, like, I couldn't switch companies because COVID hit when I got into the field of data science, and there were no jobs outside. But I was really fortunate to have worked on a lot of a variety of different problems across industries. I worked for retail industries, insurance, automobile, and stuff like that. So that was my journey transitioning into data science. See, back in the day, I had to give good 6 to 8 hours every day on studying, right? I had to go through materials, I had to practice and everything. But the one thing I'll tell you guys, that don't lose the habit of practicing. See, right now you might have a million of videos out there and a bunch of good material out there to to go through it and to get the concepts clear. But as long as you don't write the code, do the practice, and solve the problems yourself, it won't be easy for you to get into the field, for any field for that matter, not just data science, right? You need to code, you need to build a GitHub repository. See, it doesn't matter if you do a certification or not. I've seen people who have come from IT support background in my company, Carrot Lane. One guy came from IT support background. He studied all his data science from YouTube. That's it. And he built his portfolio on GitHub, and he got into the machine learning team of Carrot Lane. So it's that simple. As long as you keep practicing. And the one thing you need to always get a good grip on is the concepts, the basics, and the maths behind the problem. For example, all of you must know about the linear regression, right? But if you don't understand the y is equal to mx plus c equation of it all, you won't understand how the linear boundary would separate two classes in that case. So yeah, that was about it for my journey. Like, I'll go through the other questions. I'll take a pause here. If you have any specific questions, anyone, please let me know.
Yeah, actually, sir, like you mentioned, you practiced a lot. So I'm just curious, exactly what did you do? I mean, were there any cackle competitions back there which you worked on, or any particular thing that you did that got you
Yeah.
into this role?
So I started with very basic problems, like a predictive thing. I started with the Boston house pricing.
Oh,
Yeah.
regression
So
and all.
then for when I got into neural networks, I started with the digit recognition algorithm
Yeah.
for deep neural networks.
Right.
Then later I got into CNNs, and I did so there was a project, dog breed classification. I had the images of dogs, and I had to classify into different breeds.
Right.
That was one. And there was a couple of other projects as well. I think one was a GAN project, the Generative Adversarial Network project,
Right.
where we had to train the model on the on images or the faces of celebrities, and then generate fresh new faces which basically don't exist, AI generated faces.
Oh, right.
And another project was a RNN LSTM project, which was, have you guys seen the show Seinfeld? Anyone?
I mean, it was back in 80s, 70s, I think.
Yeah. So I trained the model on nine seasons of scripts of Seinfeld, and then generated a script for a new episode,
Oh,
season 10, episode 1.
okay.
So the whole script with all the characters basically talking to each other. I mean, it was okay. The accuracy was around 60-65%, but uh, beyond the beyond the fact that's, I mean, it was just a the course project that I did.
Okay.
The practice that I did was, I mean, for I had the fortune of practicing on the real world problems,
Okay.
the industry problems. So I got into the job as I was about to finish my deep learning degree, and then I got to work for a insurance company. So that insurance company was automobile insurance company, and we had to train our model on the repair manuals. So for example, there was an automobile insurance company, so there were different repair manuals for each part of the car, right? We had to train the model on the classified labels and classified manuals, and then label the unclassified manuals. It was
All right.
very basic problem, but then we got into more interesting problems of license plate recognition. So we recognize the license plate and then the license number, and then using that license number, our customers could see our customer, basically our client, who was another automobile part client, which then recognizing the license plate could say or could nudge their customers saying that you had changed your car tires, say 4 years back, and I think your cars are due for new tires, so you could go for them, stuff like that.
Okay.
Yeah, there were a bunch of use cases I got to work on Infogain. So Infogain was basically a service-based company, and I worked for a bunch of clients based out of the US. They were insurance clients, and I think the biggest project I did was for Hyundai. So we created an engine which could recognize or which could detect insurance fraud based on, basically, the dealers were claiming insurance for different parts multiple times over from Hyundai, and we had to recognize each part and say that the claim for this part has already been processed. So the part image coupled with the part serial number. So yeah, that was one of my biggest projects. And yes, someone raised their hand.
Do we have any questions on the floor?
Yeah.
All right, sir. There's a question from my side actually.
Yeah,
You
please.
spoke about, I think, a couple of projects which I found interesting. One was about Seinfeld. So I
Mhm.
think the key takeaway which I took from your talk about Seinfeld is कि originality होना चाहिए. Whatever project you're doing,
Exactly.
there has to be originality. So, for
Mhm.
example, I am a student now. If I am building my portfolio in data science and I have a few projects lined up,
Mhm.
so as someone who is actually experienced in the field and if someone who wants to recruit me, so what are the few factors which you would see in my project? कि हाँ भाई ये project में कुछ बात है, and what are the few things in my project that would make me stand out?
Okay. So I personally, when I recruit people, I've gone through multiple interviews with a bunch of candidates. So the key thing that I personally look in candidates is their understanding of the basic concepts, to be honest.
Okay.
The first question I'll ask you is explain how logistic regression works. What is the equation behind it? What is the math behind it? See, as a recruiter who's looking for data science candidates, they'll always look how how well do you understand the math behind problems? Because if you do that, it's very easy for you to debug your algorithms. You know
Right.
where the exact issue might be, or you can easily build the intuition of which algorithm would work best for which sort of data. For me, in Carrot Lane, I one of our biggest projects is identifying the potential customers, right?
The propensity model which you spoke
The
about.
propensity models, yes, we talked about in MTW, right?
Yes,
Yes.
sir.
In that propensity model, we know that these are the features, and the key thing that we need to identify is yes or no, whether this guy is whether this customer is a prospect or not, right? So which algorithm would you use to classify this? I mean,
So
what?
basically, you can use logistic regression for classification.
Why logistic regression?
So basically,
There are multiple features here. I have a variety of features. It's based on the online browsing, right? So when things get a little complex I'm just trying to tell you how to build the intuition over time. This is not something that you can do by going through a bunch of courses. I wasn't able to do it for, say, first 3-4 years, right? Slowly you work on bunch of problems, then you build the intuition कि हाँ ये थोड़ा complex है. This is a little complex, right? And the best classification for this would be either XGBoost or a random forest.
right.
Right. Look,
Yes.
if there are a bunch of features, I'd rather go with the ensemble modeling rather than the vanilla algorithms. Like, see, logistic regression might work very well for another complex problem,
Mhm.
but not for this one. How
Right.
do I have gone through like 10 years of working, and then finally I've been able to see 10 साल के बाद भी you still have to maintain the beginner mindset. When you think कि हाँ अब मेरे को सब आता है, I can do everything, that might doom you.
Okay.
So, always for everyone, whether you are in college, whether you have 10 years of experience or 20 years, or you are a CEO of the company, you still need to maintain the beginner mindset. Still
Right,
need
sir.
to have that hunger to learn new things.
I
See,
agree, sir. With
one of the reasons I quit my front end development was every day there was something new coming up. Kabhi
totally.
AngularJS, kabhi React, kabhi Redux, kabhi Flux. I was like, I'm done. But now in data science, the same thing is happening.
Right.
So you keep changing fields every day. It's better to maintain that beginner mindset. It's
Right,
as simple.
sir. So at the end of it, it's your experience which will also help you, kind of grow in the field. The more projects
Exactly.
that we work on, the more insights we gain, and the more clearer our concepts become.
Absolutely.
Anushka, do you have questions as well? You can go ahead.
I do. Hi,
Hello.
I'm Anushka. Hi, Varun. Thank you once again. We are glad to have you here.
Pleasure.
Um, Now there's a lot of noise around data science, as we already know, and sometimes it is really hard to, separate the hype from reality.
Yeah.
On this note, I would like to ask you, how do you see the actual scope of data science evolving in the coming years, and especially here in India?
Mhm. Right. So the hype around AI has been crazy in the last couple of years alone. Right. To ground you all in reality, I'd say that you still need to have all the concepts we just talked about very clear in your mind, because those will be the concepts that will build you to use LLMs and Gen AI technologies and everything. See, abhi, until like a couple of months before, the hype was all about Gen AI, right? Abhi, we are talking about AI agents. Tomorrow we'll be talking about something else. So the pace at which AI is evolving is mad right now. So to keep yourself up to date with the concepts, go through all the learnings, go through all the blogs and whatever material you find online with the new technologies. But at the base of it, you still need to have a clear understanding of how machine learning works. Because see, there's a big circle of AI, जिसमें there's a subset of ML. ML के अंदर there's a subset of deep learning. Within that is reinforcement, and within that is अभी Gen AI is basically drawing itself as a Venn diagram with everything, right? So at the base of it all, please keep your basics clear. Please keep your concepts clear, right? Then and only then you'll be able to build your understanding on Gen AI and everything. And in India, the AI, I mean, so I was looking at one of the YouTube videos where in a conference someone was saying that AI will not replace you, but someone using AI will. So get yourself familiar with all the new AI tools. In the coming years, there will be jobs for people who know how to use these tools, how to manipulate these tools, how to fine tune these models, and then reuse it. See, back in the day when I was learning, there was a concept called transfer learning. अभी जो ये सब आप देख रहे हो ना, the Ghibli effect on the pictures and everything. This is a very old concept, very old concept. So in 2017, when I was studying, one of the projects was transfer learning. So there was a pre-trained model which basically applies some effects on a picture and then transforms it. You use that model as it is. You use the model's architecture as it is, except the last layer. So there are a bunch of layers, right? Input layer, then hidden layers, and then output layer. In the output layer, you write your own output layer. You tell the model, this is the output I want. ये मेरा picture है. Let's say I'm uploading my picture into ChatGPT. That is in the backend. It's only updating the output layer, where in the output layer is my photo. All the architecture of the model will remain same, and then it will apply the effects on top of it all, and then give you a Ghibli effect. It's just transfer learning, right? So that's what I'm telling you. So the concepts, the basics of it will remain the same. All you need to do is keep yourself updated and get yourself familiar with all the new tools that are coming in, how to use them, how to fine tune them, and then how to take all of that and apply on your problems. Yeah.
Like you mentioned, right, कि ये जिबली वाली चीज जो अभी हुई recently, ये काफी टाइम से चलता आ रहा है. But like a lot of people were even against it. On this specific note, it might be on a different tangent, but one of the major concerns is that we keep hearing about data privacy and ethical AI and etc. 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 With AI systems depending on this, so much on the user data, what do you think students and companies should keep in mind to ensure responsible and ethical use of data? And मतलब background में exactly क्या चल रहा है, and is this really a concern?
Yeah, it is a concern. It's a very huge concern right now, because I'll tell you the difference between back then and now, right? Back then, क्या होता था? The model I'm talking about, no, they used to give you the whole code of the model. You modify the architecture, it's open source, you have the code. You're not feeding it to a tool which is going back to the company. That was not it. You had the code, you modify the code, and you run it locally on your local host. It's not on server, it's not anywhere. Your information stayed with you. Right now, what's happening is it might be the same model, but it's in the back end of a tool like a ChatGPT or a Deepseek or whatever, right? And it's flowing the data back to the company server in OpenAI. So अभी क्या हो रहा है? OpenAI has your data. All the pictures you might be transferring, they are transforming. They are going back to OpenAI. And somewhere in the fine print of the terms and conditions of OpenAI, there might be a statement saying, okay, whatever data you upload or whatever you write in the ChatGPT will be owned by us, and we can use it any way we want, right? But to avoid that, what companies and what students can do is please refrain from sharing any personal information with these models. We are using an LLM model to create personalized marketing messages for our customers. But the first thing we do is remove any PII, any personally identifiable information, like names, phone numbers, emails, addresses, or anything of that sort. We remove them or we mask them. So in our case, what we do is we replace that with a unique identifier, which we generate on our own. And in the backend, we later do the matching and sorting of that, but we don't feed that into OpenAI. Because once you do that, the customer's data will be leaked. And sometime in the future, it might be leaked. So what happens is, when you give your information to the model, for example, say Aryan uploads a picture to apply the Ghibli effect on it. Once that happens, OpenAI has your picture. Now, somewhere in some remote part of the world, someone is writing a prompt to generate a picture of an Indian boy who has specs, so and so age, looks like a college student. It might generate your photo or something similar to Aryan, right? So you have no control over it. You have no control over how your data will be used or misused, for that matter, because once that photo gets downloaded by that person, he can use it any way he pleases, anywhere on the internet, right? So you have to be very careful on how you use or upload your personal data. I'd say don't do that at all. Please don't stop creating these the Ghibli effects on pictures and everything. Also, it has a very huge environmental effect as well. I'll tell you how. So these GPUs that these companies use, they're water-cooled, water-based cooling systems. So for every photo generated, the cooling system uses 5 liters of drinking water. So that's how detrimentally it affects the environment as well. So I please request you to stop using these effects for the fun of it all, and stop uploading your personal pictures into these models. Stop feeding any sort of personal data. I mean, please refrain. Always create a story around it. Always mask your data. Always replace that with fake data or something while you're prompting these models to do anything for you. So yeah, and anyway, this the new Digital Data Privacy Act, that has DDPA, has come in India, and companies have to be also very careful on how they use their customer data. So yeah.
Thank you, thank you. That was really insightful. Um, for students looking to break into AI or data science or ML, what do you think is the best way to apply for an internship specifically? And do you think that these companies that we apply for, they care about our coursework, research projects, or any other projects that we do? And also, a follow-up would be, if you were starting your career today, how would you do it differently? What would you do differently? That would help our students have a perspective of what we should do.
Sure. So this, I'll start with the first part of the question. So students who are looking to break into this field, I keep reiterating this, but please have your concepts and basics clear, very clear. Like, you need to be crystal clear on how does an algorithm work and what's the math behind it. And math, I don't mean you don't need to be a PhD or an expert in mathematics either. You need to have simple stats and your differential calculus concepts clear, and probability, of course, right? See, you don't need to actually code the math. There are functions for everything in Python, and we have libraries for everything, right? All you need to do is you need to have a clear understanding of how does this work. You can't just keep telling your non-technical peers, "Okay, this is a black box. I can't really tell how it works." You need to, for example, my manager from this financial year would be the CMO of our company. So to explain it to the CMO, I can't tell her, "Okay, this is all a black box." I need to explain in very non-technical terms what's happening behind it. And to do that, you need to, in your mind, be very clear of how the mathematics works behind of every algorithm, right? Yeah. So how to apply for internships? Okay, you need to have very good connections. Because Internshala and LinkedIn, they'll only get you to a certain point. You need to have very good connections. So if you tell me, "Okay, I want to apply for an internship," I'll directly go to the CMO of our company, or to the CEO, or maybe the CSO of our company, and tell them, "Okay, I have an application of intern and I can create a position." And that's how I've had two interns over the last 2 years of my span here. Both of them came through good connections at the top of the company. It's very hard to get in otherwise, to be very honest. I'm being very honest with you guys. Try with Internshala, very good. If you get in, all good. LinkedIn, but build your LinkedIn connections. Be very ruthless with your cold messaging on LinkedIn or on any other professional platforms, right? Very ruthless. Just don't think, "अरे मैं इसको जानता नहीं हूँ, अरे ये क्या सोचेगा." Let them think what they do. What's the worst that will happen? They'll look at your message and not reply or not refer you. Don't let that come into your way of of a good opportunity that you might have there. Cold messaging and LinkedIn connections are the two best ways to get into internships. And at the start of your career, when you're looking for internships, please look at the companies that are doing technically groundbreaking work. Okay? For example, the customer-facing companies like Carrot Lane, we do marketing-heavy data science work. The problems that might solve are consumer issues. Whereas companies like, say, NPCI, for example, right? They're doing some amazing work with financial data. The very groundbreaking things that they're using, and I think these technical companies are pioneers in the new technology. So you should always look for those sort of companies as well. See, we are also using the Gen AI and LLMs to solve our business problems, right? I'm not saying customer-facing companies they are not using technically sound things as well. but always look for technical companies that जो company ही पूरे tech based, at least at the start of your career. So that's a good place to gain some knowledge. And for the first few years of your career, the only thing that you need to be looking for is how can I learn more, where I can get more learn. Like everyone told me this as well when I started. Don't look for money, look for opportunities. I was like, what do you know? But now I know. Look for opportunities. Don't look for money, guys. Please. At least first year, first 2 years. First job should be the job where you'll get to learn a lot. Work at startups if you can. There's no better place to learn. Once you've got a fair amount of understanding of the industry, go for switches, go for money. Is later in the career you'll realize that money is very important in careers as well. So, but पहले 2 साल जितना सीख सकते हो सीखो, जितना पढ़ सकते हो पढ़ो. See, I thought कि college के बाद job, no पढ़ाई. Now I realize कि there's nothing without studying, nothing at all. Even after 10 years of working, I still know that I have to study every day to keep up with all the new comings and all the things that keep coming every day in the market now. Learning never stops, and it never should stop. So that's all. And yeah, if I had to restart my journey, what would I do differently? Very, very tough question. But one thing that I wouldn't do differently would be going through the basics first and then graduating to. So one thing that I definitely do differently is that basics ke baad I start, learning about the tools rather than बहुत ही complex algorithms that were in the market back then, because the GANs and the RNNs and LSTMs, basics आना चाहिए इसका to understand how LLMs work. But then I straight jump to the Gen AI part of things because that's where all the buzz is. Yeah.
Sir, actually, I'd like to add on the तो आपने technical वाला part बोला था कि look for technical companies. Actually, even I had an opportunity to talk with Mr. Nikita, if you remember her from MTW, Mrs. Nikita, sorry. तो उन्होंने भी एक काफी interesting concept बताया था about synthetic data, how they use it to train their own models. So I think being financial company, and to be honest, they are a powerhouse of all the financial transactions that are getting in India, from
Absolutely.
UPI to all those technologies.
Mm-hmm.
So I think synthetic data is quite a good concept, so that even in terms of data privacy and all. So
Absolutely.
if you can elaborate on this synthetic data wala part, I think it will be beneficial to anyone who is looking in the field, especially in ML field, how to use that to generate models and all.
Sure. So synthetic data is basically data you generate on your own that doesn't really exist in the world and have no meaning or no implications in the real world, right? So synthetic data is based, for example, I'll tell you, when you're training a model on classification, it has to classify either yes or no. But for no, you have very small amount of data, right? You have a minority class, which is no.
Yeah.
For no, you will generate synthetic data. From अपने data set में से you mix and match and you create fake data kind of things, right? Which doesn't really exist. But for model, it is very important because the mix and match of the data or the synthetic data you will create will actually implicate your y variable. Sorry, I'm getting a little technical here, but
No, sir, we want that actually.
Okay, brilliant then. So what happens is when you create synthetic data, in real world there might not be any implication, but for that model, that row of data will actually mean yes or no. You understand what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
So let's say that we have 10 features and 11th feature is our yes or no variable, y variable. So the combination of these 10 features would create a yes or no, right? Is that clear?
Yes, sir.
So the synthetic data, it might not have any implication in the real world, but for that model, it'll actually mean yes or no. It'll actually it'll actually transform to yes or no. So synthetic data is very important. Aaj ke time mein, why? Because of the data privacy issues, right?
Mm-hmm.
So if you create synthetic data and then you upload it to your LLMs and your Gen AI models, well and good, no implications. कोई tension नहीं है. There's no worry about your data being stolen because it's not real. Right?
Right, sir.
Yeah. So let's say I create a entirely new fictional character called say Jim. Right? And Jim has Jim studies in a fictional college. Whatever your I can't come up with the name, but let's say a fictional college in a fictional city that doesn't exist, but it's actually transforming to your y variable, which will actually have a very big implication of how your model performs or generalizes on your unseen data.
Right.
But if you're uploading it into a LLM, that person doesn't exist, and even if OpenAI decides to steal your data, what's gonna happen? Nothing at all. But you've trained your model. Now your model knows how to classify between yes and no for this variable or this row of data. For yes, there's a hand raised.
Right. Vibhu, you can go on.
Yeah. So, sir, just like you talked about this thing, so like if we have a large data set, then if we make a single like change, like a fake college and a fake name, then it won't make a very big difference, right? So
Absolutely.
like we need to make the fake data that large so that it can make a difference.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. So in the context of training a model, let's say you have a minority class for no, right? And for no, you need 100 other rows of data. You create 100 fake rows. That will have an implication. That will balance your yes and no class, right? And your model will not have a hard time classifying between the two. And you won't have a selection bias or any of those biases that might affect your model's ability to generalize on the unseen data.
Yeah.
So you need to create large. You're right. You need to create large amount of data, large enough amount of data, so that first your classes are balanced. That's the first problem you need to solve. Second, there are no implications in the real world if you're using LLMs.
Yeah.
That is, if you're not using LLMs, well and good.
Yes.
In NPCI's case, I don't think they're feeding that data into the synthetic data into LLMs either.
Okay.
They're training their in-house models for that.
Right. So just to add on, if I'm not wrong, जो synthetic data होता है, I think it is even used to just generalize the overfitting models so that it performs better actually.
Absolutely. So in this case, when you have a minority class, your model will underfit.
Right.
When you balance your classes, it's good to.
Correct. Vibhu, you were asking something?
Yeah. So I had one other question. So like US has like deep pockets and is like early in this field of like AI and LLMs. In fact, China for the fact. So should we focus should India should focus on generating their own LLMs or like build on the existing LLMs that are like Deepseek or OpenAI or like other LLMs that have been made. Recently we have seen the example of Krutrim. So we have seen the example of Krutrim, like the one by Ola. So when I asked Krutrim some questions, so it wasn't that good. Like the quality of the answers that it was giving, like it was not that good. So what should we focus on? And is there a data disparity, or is it about the amount of money that we put in, or like what is the issue, and what should we focus on to make it better in India, and like what should be the next steps for India to specifically like get into this field and be a world leader?
Right. So I don't know if you know, but there were a lot of ill practices that OpenAI, did to train the GPT models. So, the authors whose material OpenAI used to train the GPT models, it never even paid them.
Yeah.
The transform model, right? If
The
attention is all you need.
They paid the authors whose work they used, and China, we all know how honest they are, right?
Yeah.
And Deepseek might be very good at reasoning and everything, but we all know where the data is going, how it will be used. So, and I don't mean to be political here, but India's leaders are not very advanced right now to be focused on. Have you all seen our prime minister in in that AI summit that happened with global leaders.
The left and right hand
Speech in
example.
front of
which you-
Left hand and right hand, yeah.
each president. Yeah, it was hilarious, but I don't think we're there yet. So I think it will take pioneers like you to create the models, and the Ola's model is more a chatbot than a LLM.
Exactly. That is what I
And in India, sorry, Anushka, you're on mute. Okay. So in India, what's happening is the chatbots that we are building or the companies are building, no, they're based on OpenAI, mostly on OpenAI.
Yeah, exactly. They're using an OpenAI API in the backend.
They're
API
not
calling.
Gemini or Llama because they're
Yeah,
very costly. The
Mhm.
models are very costly. तो सब OpenAI ही use कर रहे हैं right now because they know that मतलब ये okay, so these groundbreaking things happen when people like Sam Altman come into the fold of things. He's a very talented guy. No matter how shady the things that his company might have done in the recent past, but we need people like that to break the ground on these things in India at least. So Ola, they're not getting their act right on their electric scooter until now. I don't know what will happen to their model or anything. See, right now, all the models that you see in India are chatbots. They're not LLMs. All of them are based on OpenAI or the pre-existing models. So the need of the present is, or the need of the near future might be, learn how to use these models. Look, creating an LLM is not an easy thing. It's not a very small thing. I mean, a couple of you might gather your minds together, and you might be able to create one as well. I don't doubt it. You are a bunch of talented people, and you can do it. But the need of the hour is wrap your head around how to use these tools. Once you understand, you can fine tune these models to do anything. इनका ही architecture चोरी कर लो. Copy the architecture, modify it, create your own. That's it.
So sir, like while we like Gemini have like Google has made their own Google AI Studio where we can like generate a prompt, and using a prompt it will just give us the code, and we can run it on our VS Code or any code editor, and it will generate the output for us like with just a prompt. For example, you can say like you are a resume parser, and you can when I will upload some files, you will give me the text from it and like the important points from the resume. So it will automatically generate information. Like the model will be Gemini, and then the information will be something. And when we run it, so there is a PDF file. Then you will share it with the Gemini model, and then it will parse the resume for you. So that has also been done by Google.
See, that and all is good. But I'll tell you one thing. People nowadays are becoming very complacent with AI. They're using AI for everything, left, right, and center.
Exactly.
Please don't try and replace your thinking power with AI. जहाँ पे, for example, when the matter is of coding, for example, you want to use ChatGPT for debugging, well and good. You want to even use ChatGPT for writing the wrapper classes or जो भी तुम्हारा basic container code, well and good. But when it comes to building logics, don't use AI. Please don't use AI. That's a very harmful thing to do for your own thinking capacity and for your own, your logic building mental capacity. Because when you start interviewing for big companies like Google, Microsoft, Amazon, they'll ask you a lot of DSA questions, a lot of logic building questions. They'll test your logical capacity and everything. And if you start using AI right now for everything you do, I think it will diminish your thinking. And I don't want you guys to do that. Not at the beginning of your careers, at least. Use AI for parsing resumes because these little things, these little tasks should be
that's a bit.
replaced by AI. I completely agree. But your coding, your thinking, your logical capacity, don't let AI replace that. Okay?
Got it.
No, because you will become the person using AI not letting AI do your work. And if you know how to use AI to your own benefit, you will be the one replacing people. So
Recently, vibe coding was also a buzzword,
yeah.
that using LLMs to code completely, and yeah,
What will you learn from that? See,
yeah, we
especially
won't be learning anything.
when
Exactly.
you interview for a big company like Google or Amazon, they'll ask you to write codes in the interview. You can't use AI there.
Okay. We cannot.
Yeah.
Varun,
Uh,
you can continue.
yes. Thank you, Vibhu. Uh, so I'd like to bring back our session to one thing that we promised all the students over here. The industry insights we wanted. So exactly, if we have a business problem, and if you're as a lead data scientist, how do you look about the problem? So what is the entire pipeline which you go through from
Sure.
just stating the model, stating the business problem to actually creating a model that solves that problem? So if you can just go, let us go through the each and every step, it will be wonderful.
Absolutely. So, see, for me, so in Carrotline, we have a separate machine learning engineering team to work
Okay.
on the proper engineering side of things. What I do is, as a lead data scientist, I work in the marketing function, right?
Mm-hmm.
So I interface with all the parts of our business, all the different business teams. That could be product, merchandise, category teams, or brand teams, or sales teams for that matter, right? I sit in bunch of business meetings where we discuss कि इस function का ये चल रहा है, and I try and identify a problem which could be solved with data science.
Okay.
For example, I was in a meeting with the brand team where we were discussing the copies that we send to our customers, the marketing messages that
All
we
right.
send to customers, right? And halfway through the meeting, I realized that we are sending the same message to everyone, regardless of, for example, say Aryan and Anushka to a customers. Aryan could be browsing Carrot Lane casually for no reason, for maybe buying a month down the line, couple of months down the line. Whereas Anushka has, let's say, a birthday coming up. She might be looking for a gift for herself or for a friend for that matter, right? And why should I send the same marketing message to Aryan and Anushka, right? So that's where I identified that this could be a potential problem. Then I take this problem to my previous manager, who was the AVP of marketing. To him, we discuss the problem. We take it to the, I mean, we get an approval on should we do this and that. So once the problem statement was set, we said that we will generate personalized marketing messages for each customer based on their uh, recent browse. Now we have identified the problem, and we knew we wanted to generate personalized messages using LLMs and Gen AI basically. So we identified the problem. We said this would be the solution. Then we set a timeline on it. We will deliver the solution by this quarter beginning, mid, or end, and then we start working on it. We have identified the problem. Now the first thing we do is we start identifying the features. What is the data that we need from it, right? Once we identify what is the data needed for that, we write our queries and we fetch the data from our databases. We use Redshift, we use SQL as well. So we use PostgreSQL mostly. So we write queries in that, we fetch the data. Now, once we have the data, we analyze it. First we do is we go through the basic EDA wala steps.
Mm-hmm.
We know okay, we then do feature engineering. We know for uh, for generating a personalized marketing messages, for example, we needed customers preferred category, for example. What is the preferred category and what is preferred price point? And these informations, these data points were not available anywhere. We had to generate these. So what we did was based on, let's say, past 60 days of browsing, let's say Aryan's preferred category becomes rings. We know you are mostly browsing rings. We know that you 80% of your browsing has been rings, not just browsing. You're adding to cart is rings, your wish listing or your share are mostly rings. And in case of Anushka, it's mostly earrings, let's say, right? So now once we have that, we do the similar base of logic-based deriving for price point as well. So we have price point, um, we have category, And we have other static information like occasion or loyalty points. We have a loyalty program, so we have exclusive points. We call them exclusive points. For example, we calculate a bunch of information. These are just 4 variables. We have close to 30 variables. Once we have that, we first thing we do is we then the data is generated, data is created, and it's in a usable form now. Once we have that, then we take that data and we created a algorithm which basically takes in your customer information. Then we write a prompt. Okay, we write a prompt for a use case. So, for example, in this case, the use case is wishlist abandonment. For example, people who have added to wishlist or added to cart for that matter, but abandoned it. They didn't complete the purchase. To these customers, use the bunch of information and then feed that data along with the prompts into the LLM module and write a prompt to generate so and so message based on the use case that we have mentioned above for these customers. Then the LLM does its job and creates a bunch of marketing messages for each of the customers. And then we use those messages and send it. Okay, so once the algorithm is done, we create an API out of it. I used Flask to create the API, and to use this, we used Streamlit to create the UI. Once we had that, we then create the ETL pipeline by the help of our DevOps team. Once the ETL pipeline is in place, we test the whole pipeline from the data flowing from the queries and then being passed on to the model and then generating the messages. Once we do that, we then take it live on the staging branch. Staging पे पहली सारी testing होती है. We test it out, and if there are any changes, we make it staging. Then comes the pre-live branch. So pre-live branch, we test the whole flow of it, and once we know that it's error-free, the whole execution is error-free, then we take it live on the live branch, and then it's live.
Right. I mean, it was quite insightful. The way you walked us through every stage, starting from business model, how you actually business problem, how you actually identified a business problem, to actually going through stages, pre-live and all those. I mean, so basically, what I gained from here is business problem might change, but the workflow and the concepts behind the logical solution of the problem, it remains same.
Absolutely.
Yeah, starting from EDA to testing to hosting and all.
Yeah.
Just that key, you should have the domain knowledge. You should be able to identify the problem and provide an appropriate solution to it.
Yes.
So, I mean, that's a good key takeaway to take from this explanation. So guys, we are still open for questions on the floor. I think most of you have been added to the ML group, which is
Aryan, just a second. I think Vibhu also has one question. You can go ahead, Vibhu.
Yeah. So, sir, I had one question. Like, if I'm working on a project, then how should I gain the domain knowledge? Like, we are recently working on a research paper. Since we are a research council, so we are working on a research paper, and the paper is based on credit card fraud analysis.
Okay.
So, how should we go about searching for data? Like, it's really difficult to search for papers because, like, there is not much research being done on this topic. There are very less good research papers which have a good amount of like data. So the lit survey is quite difficult. Then gaining knowledge of that field, or like if I'm working in any other field, like even in an internship, how should I gain the domain knowledge for that?
So, see, the domain knowledge only, I think, when you work with, for example, I was fresh off the service-based environment. In service-based environment, I worked with different clients: retail, insurance, automobile. And when I was certainly pitched into Carrot Lane, which was a e-commerce company, marketing heavy company. I was part of marketing function as well. To gain the knowledge, what I did was first year I did a lot of consumer research. I studied consumer journeys, how each consumer behaves on our environment. So to gain the domain knowledge, your qualitative research needs to be very heavy. You need to be heavy on the consumer research side of things. There are a lot of, see, in our environment, we get a lot of customer data, and we get a chance to talk to our customers as well. In your case, you could partner. I mean, you could partner with a survey agency. I'd say, talk to people, try and talk to people, try and study their journeys online if available. See, once you understand what does each customer go through, what is the flow does that each customer goes through on your website, or in your case, credit card fraud, right? How do they go about using credit cards? Where all do they use credit cards? Which all places that you can identify that could be a risk for a fraud, right? For example, I'd say don't swipe your credit cards in machines. There's a very high chance of your card being copied. It's happening nowadays to people at gas stations in India, right?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Rather tap your card and be done with it, or use UPI or any sort of contactless payment method. Once you identify these gaps, you start understanding the mindset of each customer. Kahan ja raha hai? CRN is a customer. He's going certain places in a day. Out of 10 places, he used credit card at 7. Out of 7, 3 places he swiped his card, 4 places he tapped. Out of those 3 places, two of them are, say, trustworthy vendors, for example, have no history, but one is a shady guy. That could be a place where the fraud can happen.
Fraud can happen.
Identify the gaps, go through consumer journeys, get into the consumer mindset. Then you'll understand that, okay, in the world of credit card or in the world of financial data, so and so places are there where the fraud can happen, and how can I build a model or write a research paper about building a model which can identify the gaps and then plug it in.
Yeah.
So qualitative research is your key to getting domain knowledge. That's the one-liner.
Okay. Also, like once, like for training any model, we need a large data set. Then, like such data set will not be available. Like people going about in gas stations and swiping their cards, that data won't be available. Then, how should we build the data set for that?
Synthetic data. That's your answer.
Synthetic data. That's the answer. Got it.
Yeah. See, NPCI, in order to stop data leakage or data fraud, data theft, they are not using their real data. They are using synthetic data to train the entire model on synthetic data.
Okay.
Once they identify that this could be a fraudulent transactions, they use that model and use it or deploy it on the real data. Once they train the model on synthetic data, they test it on the real data to see if it's working. You do the same thing.
Okay. Got it.
Just create your own data. There are a lot of Python libraries. I don't have any of the libraries off the top of my mind, but I can text Aryan and he can.
Maybe I think we can use even GANs for the purpose of creating synthetic data.
You can. GAN.
Or is it only for not for text based?
Very overqualified for your use case.
Okay.
It'll be very complex to use. Use something simple. I'd let you know. I don't have anything off the top of my mind. It's been quite a while. Yeah.
Sure, sir.
Vibhu, any more?
No, you can continue.
I think the chat box is open for everyone. If anyone has any particular question which we have not actually delved upon, you can ask, because I think it has been mostly a comprehensive session. We started from source journey to getting NPCI ka synthetic data to how the entire pipeline of deploying a model in the industry works. So even if you have any questions, the floor is open. Sir, we actually also have our faculty advisors over here, Mr. Vaibhav sir and Swati ma'am. They are actually quite interested in the research part of ML and all.
Absolutely.
So, right,
hello, guys.
So this is like a very general question.
Sure.
Like as a student, so there are like a lot of things coming up like HackerRank, CodeChef. Other than that, there is this ML.
Right.
Other than that, there are like various tools and everything. And as a student, I am a little confused on what part to like actually focus on or follow, because it's very confusing, because one day this is a buzzword, the other day this is a buzzword. And
Yeah.
what would you say that how
Don't
to choose like something?
I'd say don't worry about the buzzwords. All these
Okay.
platforms are equally good. I've see Hacker Rank, and Hacker Earth are mostly used for interviews. Most
Yeah.
of my coding interviews have been in Hacker Rank or Hacker Earth, right? Don't worry about that. Choose one platform. Lead Code, yeah, go to Lead Code. Start solving questions. That's all you need. Forget about everything else.
And then other than that, so I am going in my third year, like in 2 months,
Sure.
but I have yet to like participate in a hackathon. Like I have applied for two or three, but I have been rejected after a few rounds.
Okay.
How important would you say these hackathons and everything, internships are like to your resume? And how much would you say that I need to split my time for these, or are these not as important and maybe I should just focus on DSA and lead code and stuff?
Uh, okay. See, these are equally important to your cognitive development as a data scientist and as a student. Okay.
Hmm.
But don't be disheartened because you got rejected in a couple of times. What goes on your resume is I participated in a hackathon. That's it. That's it. That just shows your participation. That shows initiative. That's all you need. That's that's all you'll ever need. Don't worry about it. See, I know if you've gotten rejected a couple of times, you might win it the third time. You might win the whole thing. But don't worry about it. Focus on your DSS. Obviously, focus on your DSS. I wouldn't say कि choose either of these two. See, hacker rank, yeah, sorry, hackathon, yeah, whatever extracurricular activities that goes on in the background, they're important. Participate them, but keep your DSAs, your Python, your coding practices like lead code and everything. Keep them going on in background. Don't stop them. While you in the foreground, you maybe work on a hackathon problem. In the see, when you work on your lead code, when you work on your DSA or your coding problems, they're just building you up for a hackathon. They're just building your base to work on, or rather solving a hackathon problem, right? Both of these things are equally important. You don't make yourself choose between the two, and don't get disheartened if you got rejected in a couple of rounds. Who cares? Don't worry about it. You
And
should be
sir, as you said ki, you have to have that beginner mindset your whole life.
absolutely.
uh, how do you like balance between having the beginner mindset and like being a little like having a little low self-esteem because you are being rejected, and you see other people on LinkedIn who are achieving so much more, like
No,
they
no.
have get internships on Google,
LinkedIn.
like
Okay, all the social media platforms, whether it's Instagram or LinkedIn, biggest lie ever you'll ever see in your life. Don't let social media affect your life. Please, this very big request to all of you guys. What you see on LinkedIn is okay. When I put that I've been promoted to lead data scientist last year, that was culmination of my whole year's effort. What you see is just the highlight part of my appraisal season. You don't see what work I've put around the whole year into that, what projects I've delivered, what revenue I've delivered. No one sees that. And even if I don't do any of that and I just get promoted because it's been 2 years and it's time for my promotion, most of the companies promote you because it's time for you to move to the next level, not because you've put in some extraordinary effort. Instagram, see, LinkedIn is slowly becoming Instagram. That is the success you see on Instagram or LinkedIn is it's all but a lie. It's very, it's like synthetic data that we've been talking about. Please don't worry about it. Please don't dishearten and don't let your self-esteem take a hit because, and anyway, I mean, see, my journey and my colleagues' journey have been very different. I have had friends who are way ahead of me in their careers, and I don't really care about it anymore. And this perspective you might develop as you grow older, right? But as a student, as someone who's starting their career, please don't be disheartened with other people's success or your own failures for that matter. See, I can assure you that uh, these rejections, they're building you for something big in your life. Don't lose your self-esteem because of a couple of rejections. Who cares? I mean, it's okay. You might win the next year hackathon. Do your coding, clear your basics. That's all you will ever need. See, pata hai what will happen when you get into real world? No, when you start interviewing for jobs, you might get a job which is better than everyone in your batch. All of these things will seem like a distant past. Please don't let your self-esteem take a hit, and please stay away from these LinkedIn posts as much as you can.
Okay, sir. Thank you.
Yes, Vedant.
And like just trying to make some projects and stuff based on these public data sets available. I'd like to ask you, what do you actually like give more preference to, rather data cleaning or like the modeling that goes into creating the model? Like what would you contribute more of your time towards?
See, 80% of our times goes into data cleaning. There's a saying in the world of data science that your model is only as good as your data. So please spend most of your time cleaning your data and making it spick and span to feed into your model. Once you have good amount of data and good data, when I say good data, data becomes good when you spend your 80% of time cleaning it and putting into a shape that your model can consume and understand. So more importance is on getting good quality data. See, modeling is only 20% of the job. You write 4 lines of code, import some libraries. That's it. You've trained your model. Model.fit. You generalize your model. That's it. Right? 80% of the job is EDA. Focus on that.
Following up on that, do you use any tools to automate such tasks, or like do you have to do it like manually in your environment?
I personally prefer not to use any tools for that because
Right.
that keeps me, that gets my hand dirty in the code, and I prefer it that way. I'd say you do it that way as well, because once you do that, no, that flow of cleaning the data and flow of understanding which data needs to be cleaned gets very clear in your mind. Once you do that, you'll never fall behind on 80% of the job. 20% of the job you can reiterate with different models, right? You can train 10 different algorithms in half an hour if you have good GPUs for that matter. But you can train 10 different algorithms on in half an hour. But the majority of the job is just EDA. And if you start using tools for that, it's your understanding takes a hit. That's what I'll say.
Sir, even if we do have tools for EDA, won't it be a data privacy concern if we just hand over our data to
More
these
than
tools?
data privacy concern, EDA differs from dataset to dataset, right?
Yeah,
The same tool can't handle multiple levels of EDA that
yes,
you
yes,
might need for. See, that understanding only will build slowly when you do it yourself rather than using a tool for it.
correct.
Okay, how do you make this stand up? Okay, so just make yourself stand out. First, I keep reiterating, but first have your basics pretty much clear, right? Everything needs to be clear in the mind. And second, don't do these old projects like the Boston House pricing or the Iris data set or Titanic data set. Stop using these data sets. I mean, you want to practice, good, but don't put these on your resumes, right? So try and do projects that can reflect solving a real world business problem, not a business problem, real world problem. For example, I knew someone who was doing research on how to measure the moisture content in the soils where farming happens, so that you know how much water to put in. You won't end up putting too little or too much water to save water. Basically, see if that's a very real world problem. Try and find problems like that. or at least try and use in-trend data sets. I don't know what is trending these days with the also how to stand out, participate in Kaggle competitions if you can. If
Okay.
you get a silver, gold, or a bronze for that matter, or you're somewhere in the top 10 for a Kaggle competition, that will make you stand right now.
Any other questions? Okay. So I have one question.
So, sorry, before
Yeah.
we move on, also Rena is who asked the question, right? Build your coding platforms portfolio as well. Your GitHub should be as green as a forest, or you should solve as much lead code problems as you can as well. That also makes you stand out. Yes, sorry, go ahead.
Yeah. So like in our college, between semesters, like after the fourth, like the even semesters, we have 2 months of gap. Like transitioning from second year to third year, we have 2 months of gap. And after that, when transitioning from an odd semester to an even semester, like from the third to fourth semester, we have a 1 month of gap. So in the 1 month of gap in December, it's in December. So what should we focus on? Like if like in the 2 months gap, generally people are doing internships. Like even I have done internships. In the 1 month gap, should I focus on doing another internship, or doing a research project, or focusing on developing my skills like DSA and dev? So what should, and building projects, so what should I do, like prioritize on all these three?
I think 1 month is too short a period for an internship. If I'm not wrong, I don't think companies have a month long internship. If you do, do it. If not, try and build your skills. Have some fun, man. Holidays, maybe 15 days of skills and 15 days of fun. Yeah, but seriously, I mean, on a serious note, try and build your skills. 1 month is a very good time to maybe do an online course. Maybe build your portfolios on different platforms. Yeah, I think you should focus on building your skills as and when you get the time.
Got it, sir. Aryan, you can continue and then.
Sure, sir. I don't think we have any more time with us. So if we don't have any more questions, I think we can just conclude over here. And again, to just conclude, I'd like to thank Varun sir for actually graciously accepting my request to, guide the students and all. It was just over a single LinkedIn message, to be honest. पहले तो उसके बाद we connected over WhatsApp and he was, quite frank कि yes, I'll do it and all. So thank you for that, sir, for being available to us.
It's been an honor being invited here, being among a bunch of talented people. I know all of you will make it in the real world as well. So all the best, all the very best to you guys. Any follow-up questions that you might have, please text to Aryan. And
We do
okay,
have
yeah, another question comes in. For projects, how much would you say we can use open source and AI? Self-contribution is required for us to actually learn. Use open source as much as you can. AI, as I said before, try and use for the monotonous manual tasks. Don't use it for thinking. Don't let it be a replacement for your thinking capacity. Logic building, do it yourself. Okay. Rest of the wrapper codes, wrapper classes, AI can write it for you. Building the logic should be all you. All right.
basically we should be able to explain the project that we are doing.
Yeah, I mean, to learn and to claim that you worked on a project, you should know the ins and outs of it. So I'd say write your own code. At least in the beginning, write your own code. Everything, write it on your own. Slowly, when you start getting clear on the concepts of it all, start using AI for writing the basic code.
Sir, just to follow up,
Mhm.
does your team also use AI to just code the monotonous stuff that, as you said?
Everyone in the company uses AI nowadays.
Okay,
But
because yeah,
for example, the brand team, they used AI to write copies and maybe modify on top of that.
okay.
took that out and built an entire use case out of it. As I said, personalized marketing messages. So
Okay.
now they use AI, they use our tool, the one we have built in house.
Okay. So does it actually enhance the customer engagement? Are there any metrics which?
Yeah. The CTRs have gone up by 2.5%.
Oh my God.
Conversion has gone up by 3%.
Okay.
Yes.
All right.
Got it.
That's amazing. So AI does have actually use case as well, just other than producing Ghibli arts and all.
Yeah. Real world use case, I'll tell you.
Yeah, right.
Hey, machine learning, man. The propensity model was a SQL query before. When I
Okay.
joined, I took
Okay.
that SQL query, I turned it into a predictive model.
Okay.
And it generated 170 crores of extra revenue in 1 quarter.
In a single quarter.
That's quite
Just in
crazy.
1 quarter.
Oh my God.
So that's the real world implication of AI.
Hmm.
Got it.
That's amazing.
Use AI, but don't let it be a replacement for your brain. Is all I'd
Yeah.
say. All right, guys.
Thank you so much, sir.
Thank you so much.
We are really honored to have you, and like we got really great insights about the industry and like how you started your career, and like uh, we really appreciate your efforts and your time. Thank you so much. So if anyone has any other questions, so you can raise your hands, or otherwise we can end this. Yeah, I guess we don't have any questions.
Thank you. Thanks for having me, guys.
Thank,
It's
Thank
been
you,
thank
sir.
you so much, sir.
Thank
Thank
you
you.
so much. All right. Thank you, guys. Bye bye.
Thank you, sir.
Bye.
Bye bye.